It's Elizabeth from Elpis Astrology at elpisastrology.com, and this is your astrological forecast as I see it for June 2020. So we've got two eclipses, one in Sagittarius and a final one in Cancer in June. We have a Neptune Retrograde, we have a Mercury Retrograde in Cancer, and we also obviously have the continuing Venus Retrograde in Gemini. Other things that we have that are kind of creating a bit of a tone for June is we've got the Sun, the north nodes of the Moon now, and Venus Retrograde all in the mutable sign of Gemini. So this really speaks to being able to be adaptable. And I think that's probably a good action word for the month of June is be adaptable and be able to blend as well as to roll with the punches type thing. So we have right at the 3rd of June, we have the Sun conjunct Venus retrograde in Gemini. And this is great, even though it's a Venus retrograde. This may really light us up and maybe have a lot of chatter on the news feeds and even between ourselves individually, where we just feel more optimistic. So that whole, and more light-hearted, right? So that's the sort of influence of the sign of Gemini, is a little more light-hearted, likes to socialize, likes to talk, likes to share information. So the 3rd of June might be just a very optimistic day, even though we've got the Venus retrograde as well. The Venus in Gemini with the Sun will add just a bit of levity to the day. We have our first eclipse, which is a full moon eclipse in Sagittarius. So this is where we're now starting off the new set of eclipses in the eclipse season between Sagittarius as well as Gemini. Although we do have 2 more eclipses still left in that Cancer-Capricorn axis, right? And so this Sagittarius lunar eclipse is going to be at 15 Sagittarius 34 minutes, and it's at 12:13 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time on the 5th of June. Now at this full moon eclipse we also have Mercury sextiling Uranus, and then it closely is going to square Chiron. So we talked about sextiles before. Sextiles represent opportunities. They don't represent, it is written in stone. It says this is an opportunity for you. So it's an opportunity for you to really have some exciting and unusual ways to heal. I'm thinking if we look back to whatever the virus is doing, maybe we're going to come up with some exciting scientific discovery that's going to really help us heal from this virus, and that really would be something. But just individually, it may be kind of an exciting day where our mind is a little bit more alive, and maybe coming up with some inspirational things to do or to speak about. You might have something unusual happen where you want to actually speak to folks about it. Might get some unusual messages coming in. So when we look at the next thing that is happening, which is going to be Mercury going retrograde in Cancer, that's going to be at 14 degrees of Cancer on the 18th of June, and it'll wrap up going direct on the 12th of July at 5 degrees of Cancer. So certainly Cancers will be affected by this Mercury retrograde, but what I thought was really interesting is that we're tying up, at the end of the month we're going to have this final eclipse in Cancer. But it's really interesting that we actually have this Mercury retrograde coming in, almost like cleaning the decks up a bit, saying make sure you got everything sorted out in this area of wherever 14 degrees and 5 degrees is in your chart. And to me, it again just emphasizes our habits, right? It's the mother. To some extent, it could be our parents too. It's our home, the home we live in, as well as the home we were raised, our homeland, and then the functions of how safe do I feel here? How nurtured do I feel here? So it's these types of things in our mind that we'll be thinking of during this Mercury retrograde at 14 degrees of Cancer, but also what we may be speaking about, maybe even writing about. So that's something that is going to be associated with this Mercury retrograde. And of course, the Mercury retrograde in Cancer is starting while Venus in Gemini is retrograde. So both of these will be sort of working together towards the end of the Venus retrograde time period. I did do a video on all this extensively, and I'll put the link down if you did want to look at the Venus retrograde, because I do include the effects of the Mercury retrograde in Cancer on that Venus retrograde. But I think I've kind of covered it as well. You're going to be looking at what needs to change here, and I think the big focus is going to be on what do I need to change to feel secure, and especially to feel nurtured. Is this person nurturing me? Is this place, is this job, is this thing nurturing me? Right. Those are some things to think about. When we look at the 20th of June, we're looking now at the summer solstice time period, but we're also looking at that final eclipse, which is a new moon solar eclipse. That's at 0 degrees and 21 minutes of Cancer. So Cancers, this is your last eclipse in these degrees anyway, for about 19 years or so. We'll certainly have other Cancer eclipses happening, but not at these degree points. So when they repeat themselves every 19 years or so, they tend to be fairly close to the degree point that was 19 years prior. Okay, so in other words, you're finishing off something in your life, basically setting up a lot of new things here for yourself that you've been going through for the past year and a half, that will stay with you for the next 19 years till these set of eclipses are set off again. I hope that makes sense to you. So Cancer, this is an important time for you. I mean, it's an important time for all of us, especially with regards to nurturing and feeling safe and secure where we are. But Cancers in particular, this is kind of like a new start for you to put some things in place, or at least start putting something together that, with what you've gone through for the past year and a half, makes sense for your nurturing as well as your safety and security. Now the eclipses can last, more than 3 months, but let's just say because this is tied into the summer solstice, the effect will be 3 months at least, up until we go into the fall equinox and start a whole new cycle again, right? So this is a 3-month influence because we've got the tie-in of the solstice, the summer solstice as well. So spend some time, Cancer, thinking about everything you've gone through for the past while, and ask yourself, what new things do I need to put in place or polish up, or that final little thing that you need to do. Start thinking about that. And utilize and harness this eclipse to do those things, because you're going to have people, places, and things come in for you to help you. And zero is a 0 degree point is a critical degree, just like 29 degrees of any sign is a critical degree too. But this is at the beginning of the sign, so this is saying a whole new start for you. And it is a new moon on top and an eclipse. So keep your eye out for things that can really help put in place what you really need. Okay, I think that's enough said there. But it applies, we can generalize this to all of us too. The whole nurturing and safe and security, a new start in that area. We've got happening at this eclipse the Mercury retrograde as well, which is in Cancer. That's ongoing at this time. But we have Mars conjuncting Neptune. But Neptune is kind of moving away. It's not an exact conjunction. It's moving away from Neptune. And instead is actually, this Mars is sextiling, well, Jupiter exactly, but Pluto is close by within a degree. So we'll say that Mars, planet of action, moving away from dreamy, high love, agape love, Neptune, is coming with those feelings away from that, having experienced that, and now providing opportunities with regards to expanding Pluto. And Pluto is all about transformation and our shadow side. So there may be some actually unique opportunities for you that are gentle. Mars is a planet of action, but moving away from and having experienced dreamy Neptune, that is the complete opposite in many ways of Mars. So there's no ego involved with Neptune. That kind of energy, that loving energy, So if we talk about the energy with Mars and Neptune, I would say it's more loving energy, where the ego is asked to be put to the side and the good of all is to be considered. But having that kind of attitude will provide you with these opportunities to expand your own transformation, right? And move on from that shadows of ourselves to, or even enlighten some of those areas that aren't so harsh. It's also a time for those that are in the arts, you know, music, literal art, sculpture, that sort of thing, writing music, or even writing maybe a romantic novel. This is awesome energy for that. It really, really is, you know. So if you do have some sort of artistic ideas, even if you can't carry them out right now, I would suggest that you open up a Word document and at least put them in writing, because this will really give you some beautiful inspiration here. Yeah, for sure. We have the North Node of the Moon now at 29 degrees of Gemini. And it does conjunct this eclipse because it's at the end of Gemini, almost at Cancer time. And that's kind of interesting too. So I would say that this last eclipse in Cancer at 0 degrees, because the North Nodes is involved with it in terms of a conjunction, there's some powerful energy being put out there with regards to this eclipse and pointing us in a new direction as a collective as well as us individually. So, you know, that's an important thing to pay attention to. What comes up around this time? Again, people, places, and things. This is for all of us individually. What comes up for us that perhaps opens a door for us that's been closed for a while? Especially with regards to things that are Gemini. So these are things about like how we think, how we communicate, new facts. It can also be things like the internet, exchanging information, that type of thing. That's kind of where our whole next year and a half is going to be exploring with this new North Node now in Gemini. So see what opens up for you around this time. It'll be important for you for the next year and a half. Okay, so it may not be something that's obvious right now. Yeah, but something unexpected that you didn't maybe do much effort to have, or meet someone new, or experience something, or stumble across something. Pay attention to those types of things that you didn't necessarily initiate it, that it came to you, that may form some basis that you are going to be dealing with that for the next year and a half with the North Nodes pointing to our destiny. Now, we also have a couple quincunxes, and this is where we're asked to adjust something. So the Moon and the Sun will be quincunxing Saturn, and Saturn in turn quincunxes the North Node. Again, that's our point of destiny that is in Gemini. So again, this kind of pulls in things like our habits, our mother, our home, and structures, and our destiny. So it's asking us, I think in a couple sentences here, if I put this all together, is what we have emotionally and how we're expressing ourselves. Do the structures that are around us support that with regards to us in our new destiny path that we're going on? Does it support the way I think? Does it support the way I gather my factual information? Does it support what I get fed to me? So those types of things around the structures that you have are going to be providing some kind of adjustment for you, where you may have to adjust something, or maybe others will have to adjust something around you. But it is an adjustment that's going to have to go on here with regards to the structures we have around our habits, the way we emote, and also the way we feel about ourselves, and how that relates to us pointing to our destiny path for the next year and a half. So this is a big, I guess if you haven't got the message yet, this is a big eclipse in terms of pushing all of us onto a new path, because the effects are going to last for a lot longer than just the 3 months. I think this is going to go on, because it connects in with the North Node. That's a year and a half. Okay. We have Jupiter and Pluto, Pluto being retrograde to conjuncting with the 1 degree point of at Cancer, or Capricorn rather, that are, you know, now at the 24 and 25 degrees, so they're still conjunct, but they won't be exactly conjunct until they get to that the 1 degree point, or 0 to 1 degree point of Aquarius at the end of the month. But right now, you know, they're within 1 degree of each other, so they're riding close together here, this Jupiter and Pluto. And I did also do a video on this, which I'll put the link in, giving much more detail, as well as all the ascendants. But just let's say that that influence is going to be here also at this eclipse, this new moon eclipse in Cancer. So that talks about us really looking, a light being shined, that's Jupiter and energy, at this Pluto, which is where we're to transform, but it's also our shadow self. Now Jupiter is a lucky planet, so understand that at this time there may be some very lucky opportunities come in, or situations come in, maybe in the form of people, maybe even in the form of a book or something on YouTube that really illuminates things for you in terms of where you need to transform yourself. These are all significant things that are happening for all of us individually as well as creatively. I really like this new moon in Cancer. It's very powerful. And of course, for those who don't or haven't made the changes that maybe need to be made, this might be less comfortable. You may be, you know, maybe blaringly obvious that you've got to make some changes. And what are those changes? Again, that goes back to what this eclipse is in, Cancer. So it's our mother, it's our habits, it's our homes. It is how we emote. It's where do we feel safe and secure, but more to do with the emotional side. On the 23rd of June, we have Neptune now going retrograde at 20 degrees of Pisces. And so it's now entering into kind of the last 10 degrees. There's 30 degrees in every sign. So at 20 degrees, it's only got 10 degrees left before it's going to be leaving its home sign of Pisces. But for it to be going retrograde, again, all these retrogrades really make us, you know, review, reflect. And I think with Neptune retrograde, I would say more reflecting, you know, reflecting on our dreams, maybe reflecting on our spirituality, reflecting on what types of spiritual things are feeding me, right? So that kind of also ties into that eclipse a little bit, that energy as well, even though this retrograde starts on the 23rd and the eclipse is on the 20th of June. I think it all follows, like everything I've spoken about now follows to now the Neptune retrograde happens after the eclipse, asking us all to reflect a little bit on our dreams, our true dreams, right? Yeah, spend some time. And it also is a time when you may feel, the whole period of the Neptune retrograde, which will be for a few months, may bring dreams more importantly to our lives. So it might be a nice time to have a dream journal. It also can make us more tired on a physical level and just make us daydream more. And as long as we don't go too wild on that aspect and we keep some reality in our life, there's nothing really wrong with having periods like that in our life. We have Venus stationing direct on the 25th of June, and it'll be at 5 degrees Gemini, 20 minutes. It does a wide sextile with Chiron, so we may actually have some really good energy come in that is beneficial. So Venus is also beneficial. It's the lesser benefit in astrology, but there may be some beneficial things set in place here because it's tied in with Gemini, which is ruled by Mercury. Beneficial information comes in towards the end of June with regards to us having an opportunity to heal in a new way. Now this could play out for us individually. You know, we all have maybe our individual places that we need to heal, but it's also a collective level, may pertain specifically to this virus or something more concrete, especially with this Venus going direct in beneficial energy. That this may be towards the end of the month that we find some real concrete, not just theories or potential ideas, but something concrete come in with regards to us healing from this virus. But it also could be a turning point for our finances as well, individually, as well as anything to do with the money markets. Okay, so what I'm going to do next is to go into each of the ascendants, and so read for whatever your ascendant sign is. But as I mentioned before, it's always useful to read for your sun as well, and then interpolate between the two. And this is all free will, so whatever you feel you come up with may be on the cards for you, is the most beneficial thing or beneficial way of taking what I'm giving you. So I'm going to start off with Cancer, because Cancer, I'm just going to focus on the Cancer solar eclipse that also ties in the summer solstice, as well as the final eclipse in Cancer at 0 degrees. So that's what I'm reading for, is the effect of that eclipse. But because there's so many important turning point things that are happening at that eclipse on the 20th of June, I'm just going to read for that in this particular reading of your ascendants. But we can discuss other things too. If folks want to talk, if they're Sagittarius, for instance, they want to talk about the Sagittarius eclipse at the beginning of the month, we can do that too. But I see this one is the most important for June, towards the end of the month. So Cancer, wow, this is a big tie-up for you personally, to yourself. So this will be, will us be seeing you starting new things, maybe a new home, a new job, a new relationship, a new you. You may change your outward, your hair color, your makeup, your clothes. You may change where you live. There may be, all these things could be up for you. But this is kind of a 19-year cycle, right, that happens. It's only once every 19 years you get the eclipses happening at these eclipse points, and we're at the last one for you right now. So if you found, Cancer, a lot of difficulty, or you just wish it were over, this is the time that, in many ways, it's over. We've still got one more eclipse to go, and I'm going to cover that a little bit later on in this video. But this is a wonderful celebration point for you, Cancer, and Cancer ascendants. You do have that one more eclipse that's happening on the 5th of July, and it's happening in your opposite sign of Capricorn, and that is your 7th house of partnerships. So I'll talk more about that eclipse as I talk in my July video, but know that this will be your partnership, so there's no longer the focus on you, as it is with this present June eclipse in Cancer. That eclipse in Capricorn on the 5th of July will now focus more on your partners. Okay. So Leo, it is going to be your 12th house. So Cancer, a Cancer eclipse in your 12th house really says that I see this really as a spiritual type of development with regards to nurturing your inner self, and to bring in spirituality of some sort into you that helps nurture yourself. I always say the 12th house is also a house of rest. So this could have you going to an ashram or a yoga retreat where you actually learn something from a meditative standpoint and a spiritual standpoint, but that you get some needed rest as well. For Virgo, it's your 11th house, so this could see you having some new things with regards to your friends, the groups that you belong to. It could also have you coming up with new hopes and wishes with regards to nurturing yourself. It also can be a house of some finances with regards to, say, if you've got your own business, there could be some new start, where maybe you have new finances come your way that help support you, which is also a function of nurturing, support. For Libra, it's your 10th house. So this could see you have some job that, instead of causing you a lot of angst, it actually provides some nurturing for you. So keep an eye out for jobs that provide you some sustenance and nurturing, and actually gives something to you instead of taking so much away from you. Now this is in, the 10th house is opposite your 4th house of home. So even though it's a new moon eclipse and it's a new start, it could set up some tension with regards to your home, the fourth house, which is in opposition to this. And the reason I say that is because, of course, we have Capricorn for you, is the opposite sign, is where your fourth house resides, and there's still some pretty powerful things going on there with Jupiter and Pluto. For Scorpio, it is your ninth house. And the ninth house is higher learning, it's publishing a book, it's the legacy that we leave, it's also travel. And I know I'm making this sort of, I guess, mid-June or mid-May time, this video, so we're certainly not doing any traveling of any sorts right now. But it could be that you start making plans for travel later on this year, and that becomes something that really sustains you, that you start getting the travel books out and maybe start checking through the internet what's available, where you want to go, sightseeing and that sort of thing. And although you may not pull the trigger right now, this may be a time, an exciting time for you where you feel really nurtured with regards to being able to go on some trip that you've wanted to do, or maybe had to delay because of this whole coronavirus, right? That could be as well. It could be too that if you are in higher education, that you literally take a course in some kind of maybe nutritional course, or a course that gives you skills with regards to nurturing. That type of thing could happen as well. Hi everyone, it's Elizabeth. I had a little glitch in my video, so it may look a little different from Sagittarius onwards. So the next sign is Sagittarius. Well, Sagittarius, of course, this is where the nodes have moved into, the south nodes have moved into your sign, with the north nodes in your opposite sign of Gemini. So this is a pretty significant time for you. Now, for Sagittarians, this really asks you at this time, for the next year and a half, with the nodes in your opposite sign, to incorporate all those things that you have become an expert in. So the south nodes is really where we default to, and where we have a lot of our strengths and skills, and that it's easy for us. So we want to take all those things and bring them now for the next year and a half in some form to a Gemini type of activity. So that would be speaking, that could be presenting, it could be putting together small courses, it's certainly getting on the internet more and doing a lot more talking. It could be thinking through a lot of your, say, bigger ideas. That's very Sagittarian. And maybe taking some of those risks and pinpointing them a little more and say, well, what is really worth taking a risk on here, and have some risk management around it. But certainly there's a lot of knowledge that you have. Now it's time to kind of compress that knowledge and share it with the rest of the world. As I said, mainly through speaking, writing, talking, and I suspect the internet may be very active for you for the next year and a half too, as you share your knowledge. Now the other thing that Sagittarius has is something called the Galactic Centre, which is in, our solar system and our galaxy. And it's a geography in our galaxy that is fairly wide. So I think it's probably from like 25 degrees of Sagittarius right the way through possibly to 29 degrees of Sagittarius. So these are kind of like the degree points that certainly if you've got these degrees as, say, where your sun is or where your ascendant is, this may be more significant for you this time period for the next year and a half with the nodes, because of the Galactic Centre also hovering around here in those degree points, really pulsating with energy in terms of giving us, all of us, but especially Sagittarians, just a higher level of thinking, like really connecting, say, with source energy, with the universe, with God. This is going to be much more present and higher in your life over the next year and a half. It'll be, for all of us influencing us, but for Sagittarians, for sure, because the nodes of destiny now are also aspecting your sign with the south nodes as well as the north nodes in the opposite sign. So expect, I would say, some more maybe unusual things happening to you, where you get kind of really direct messages about, your destiny that seem to come from source energy or the universe. Could be signs and signals come in too for you. But certainly the eclipses are going to be in your sign as well as your opposite sign for the next year and a half, or more actually. So you've got that first full moon eclipse that happened at the beginning of June. So this is kind of a kickoff, even though it's a full moon and not a new moon. This really speaks to you tying some things up. So a full moon's about some culmination, some fruition, something ends. And it doesn't necessarily mean something bad because something ends. Maybe something that is bad is good that it ends, right? So don't take all these things as negatively. The bottom line is, for the next year and a half or so, the universe is going to conspire to put you on the right path for your destiny. But you've got that extra step of incorporating all your knowledge as well. So keep an eye out for people especially, and opportunities to put that fabulous knowledge that you have to the rest of the world. All right, so when we look at Capricorn, of course, so Capricorn, you've got one more eclipse left in your sign. But for June, you have that Cancer eclipse in your 7th house of partnerships. So I suspect something will come up in your partnerships, whether it is your business partnerships, your marriage partnerships, or maybe all your partnerships. And this is a new beginning, so there may be some either new beginning thrust on you, perhaps by a partner, or you choose something new within a partnership. But this will be reflected back to you personally, Capricorn, when we have that final eclipse that happens in your sign, which is going to be around the 5th of July. So that's a July eclipse in Capricorn, okay? And I'll talk more about that in my July video too. So really, we're looking at here with this Cancer eclipse really affecting your partnership. So there's some new beginning in that area. But don't forget, you also have Jupiter and Pluto still here, pulsating away and highlighting your 7th house of partnerships as well. So I suspect there may be some kind of fated thing happen, and I certainly hope it's a good fated thing for you with regards to your partnerships. Who knows, maybe in a business partnership you will, stumble across or have somebody come your way that's just the perfect business partner for you. Maybe they come with money too. That's that Pluto and Jupiter at its highest level too. Yeah, so don't see that as a negative thing. But certainly if there are things that need to be started new again, think carefully about that and take the steps that you know inside that you need to take. All right, Capricorn, we'll talk about you more in July. In Aquarius, we've got it in your 6th house, this eclipse. So the 6th house is our day-to-day work, it's our health, whether it's what we eat or our exercise. It's also sometimes in ancient astrology, it's the burdens that we were carrying. And certainly if you have been carrying burdens unnecessarily, this will be an opportunity for you to have them go away. But if we look at just the basics of this, I would say that you could potentially have your job become more nurturing of you. Instead of you giving all the time, you now have this job giving some sort of sustenance to you, maybe literally sustenance, but a nurturing aspect to it. Or that you choose a new job that provides you more nurturing instead of you giving all the time. But it could also be you deciding that I need to take care of myself, and I need to nurture myself through my diet and my exercise programs, and you decide at this time to kick off that area of your life in a new way. For Pisces, we are looking at your 5th house. So the 5th house is, I think this may be a new love for you. And if it's not a new love, it could be a new baby comes into your life too, because the 5th house is also that. But I'm just wondering, this is also the games of chance house, the 5th house. And, it's possible that some unexpected money could come your way, or something unexpected of value that might come your way, because there's so much surrounding this eclipse in Cancer that maybe provides you with something that really helps you out here. But at the bottom line of the fifth house, we're really looking at you expressing your authentic self. So this may be you getting an opportunity, maybe through things that happen in your life or people that come in and out of your life, where you realize you're not nurturing yourself enough, and that you need to take a stance personally with regards to nurturing yourself and being more authentic with who you are and being okay about that. Okay, now you do have Neptune in your sign as well, so that can cause you on a physical level to be tired a lot of the time, but on another level it can also bring you phenomenal love, and it can also put you in a daydreamy state where you maybe spend time thinking about your dreams. Don't forget to dip your toe in reality as well, but it provides you the opportunity to be really spiritualized at this time. You know, not everyone gets Neptune in their sign, and of course Neptune is in its home sign of yours, Pisces, so it's at home here, so it's operating at a good level. But certainly you do have to be watching out for any kind of deception from other people. You'll be more susceptible to that, and of course anything to do with water. But I'm hoping that you're going to have some new beginning in your love life, or maybe with children, and that brings you some beautiful nurturing from this Cancer eclipse, Pisces. For Aries, it's your fourth house of home. So just right off the bat, I'm thinking you finally get that house set up or a new house in order that provides you that real nurturing type feeling where you go into your home and it feels like your oasis, and that you can recoup and recover in your home. But it can also bring out the 10th house, which is the opposite house to the 4th, where you're having to put new things in place in your home and pay less time in your career. Now, this may be a good thing for you. You may start working in your home, for instance, and set that and go through the next few months of setting all that up so that it works well, to make you feel comfortable, safe, secure, and nurtured. For Taurus, we have your third house. So this is like, I'm thinking nurturing words and nurturing neighborhood. So it could be that you get the opportunity to set up some safe structures in your neighborhood or in your home that maybe right now aren't there. Or there's a new initiative that happens in your neighborhood that makes you feel more safe and secure. It can also have you either nurturing your siblings or your siblings providing some nurturing to you at this time. And then just on kind of like a more day-to-day mundane level, you could get involved with a commercial enterprise that is really based on nurturing people. So this could be you putting together maybe small courses where you help people understand how to nurture themselves. You know, a lot of us, especially in the Western world, really spend a lot of time just working, making money, and we never really stop and say, hey, I need to take care of myself. I need to take care of my family and my friends. And so you may get an opportunity here to put something together that is a commercial venture that is put out to people that can help them with that nurturing aspect. All right, so we finish off with Gemini, and Gemini, this is your second house. So this could be actually new money coming your way. That would be awesome. But this new money is going to help nurture you. So that's kind of interesting. You could also go through your values and decide that the values that I have and that I allow other people to measure me against don't nurture me, and I have to change that. So this might be a big push in that area as well. But it could also be you deciding to really pamper yourself and go into the beauty area where you start, you know, maybe perhaps changing some of your beauty routines to make you feel in yourself more beautiful. And there's nothing wrong with that. So that sort of thing might be around for you too. But this certainly could be a new source of income that comes into you, perhaps a new job, kind of similar to what I spoke about with Aquarius, where there's more nurturing involved in the job. All right, and Gemini, of course, you have the North Nodes of Destiny now in your sign for the next year and a half. as I mentioned in my Sagittarius part, you're going to have eclipses happening. So this is all change for you, Gemini. And look at this as positive. So this is something that happens about every 19 years ago or so, when we talk about the nodes going into your sign. Certainly, and I spoke about this in my other video that I produced, and I'll put a link to that when I talked about the North nodes going into Gemini. There's a whole video I discuss this and give you lots of details, but just to remind you, certainly if it's your ascendant and your sun and maybe your Mercury or more are all in Gemini, you could have a lot of major changes happen. But look back to about 19 years ago just to see what may have come up for you, because this may be now a leveling up. If you took all those steps forward that you needed to take with regards to getting on your destiny path 19 years ago and over the last 19 years, this may now be major opportunities for you to step up even more into your destiny path. Okay? Leave comments if you like, and we can certainly discuss things back and forth. I've done, as I said, a couple of videos that I'm going to leave links for so everyone can actually get more detail that I'm not giving you in this video. So when we look at next month of July, I've already mentioned Capricorn, that you've got your last eclipse, and it's happening at 13 degrees of Capricorn. I actually have some significant things happening at that degree point. That's on the 5th of July. And then interestingly, we have a new moon, not an eclipse, in Cancer at 28, almost 29 degrees. So this, even though it's a new moon for Cancers and it's not an eclipse, this is a tie-up. So when we look at 29 degrees as critical degrees, we're talking about kind of tying up and ending that energy of Cancer for Cancers. So although you had a new beginning set up as a result of the previous 1.5 years, this is that final closure of the door. This is where you actually close the door and move on with whatever new things you set up with the nodes that were in your sign for the previous 1.5 years. We also have Mercury in Cancer going direct now in July as well. Okay, so in the sky we have Venus. Will go into the underworld towards the end of May, and then it'll emerge around the 5th of June. But because it's so close to the sun, you won't really be able to see it in the eastern sky in the morning. And as I understand it, it will truly emerge as a morning star in the east around the 11th or 12th of June. So for those that get up early in the morning and want something inspirational, go look at the eastern sky as just before the sun rises, and you should see that brilliant star, which is the planet Venus. All right. And then, of course, the next stage would be for Venus to become an evening star again, but I'll talk about that later. I wanted to mention Gary Caton again. He put this great video together with regards to Venus. He's done a couple of them, but the most recent one he does on Venus retrograde in Gemini, and he really goes into the detail and shows you star maps and planet maps, universe maps, sky maps, that help you really understand what this Venus retrograde is and what it means. And he also goes into some mythology, as well as offers, I think, some hopeful inspiration on the meaning of this Venus retrograde in Gemini. I'm going to put the link to his video below as well. Thank you, Gary, for doing that. Okay, so with all the things going on right now, I just wanted to end this video with really giving you a technique that I've used since I was a teenager, and it really helps with visualizing in a positive way what you want to happen in your life. And I think a lot of us can do this. We can say, we can put a vision board together, which is all great. We can get pictures of what maybe a love that we want to have in, a car that we want, a home that we want. But the key to having the manifesting happen, and I'm not coming up with this as a unique idea, by the way, is to actually put feeling with it, and also to imagine yourself in that. So let's say you have a picture of a car that you want to buy. Well, you actually have to physically and mentally picture yourself in that car, driving it, having your hands on the steering wheel. But then you've got to add that dimension of the feeling, and how I'm feeling in this beautiful car, looking out the windows and feeling on top of the world. Now I know that's kind of a superficial thing to pick a car, but you know, that's okay too. But I'm just trying to illustrate an example. There could be lots of other things where you illustrate the house that you want, the apartment that you want, the person that you want, or even a situation that I've used this where I'm going in, what I perceive is as a potentially negative situation with one or more people, and I want it to go well. I want it to go in my favor, and I want it to be, you know, with a positive outcome. So you have to actually imagine the situation that you're in, the person or people you're speaking to, and then how you're pouring out this compassion and really asking for whatever it is that you need from them in such a positive way, and then you imagining their reaction as being so positive and understanding. Okay, so I hope that makes sense. You can read from the experts. I am not an expert in this, but I just wanted to tickle you a little bit and give you an idea of using all these major energies around us in June in a positive way to, you know, hopefully manifest something good in your life, wherever it is that you need to manifest some good things. We have people like Deepak Chopra, Shakti Gawain, Wayne Dyer, Eckhart Tolle, and many, many other people. You can just put in positive visualization and get so many people come up that are experts in the field. But I'll put a few of these authors in my text that I always have accompanying my video, should that help you. But if you do use these techniques, I'd be interested to hear how you utilize them and what kind of outcomes that you've had. Share that with the rest of my viewers. I know they would really benefit. Please take care of yourself, everybody. I'm sending you lots of love and lots of positive inspiration. We're going to get through this, and know that, and I'm not just saying this, there's a better day ahead for all of us. And I think if you just kind of look at some of the big shifts that are happening, because they're big shifts. They're shifts that are really meant to happen to get us all as a collective to a higher level and to a better level for everyone, including our animals. But individually, it's there to help us get to our destiny path that we're supposed to be on and be happy on our destiny path. So know that it may take more till next year till we start really seeing the results of all this upheaval that we've had, but I know 100% that it's positive and that there's lots of magic, especially magic, behind that Jupiter-Pluto conjunction that is ongoing, and then of course the Pluto-Saturn towards the end of the year in December. And again, I've got a video link for that I go into detail, and I go into the Ascendants as well. All right, I'm wrapping this up now. Take care. Look forward to hearing from everybody. Lots of love, and keep going and keep your distance. Bye for now.